Hello, and welcome once again to Dozers to Drywall. In today's video, I have a guest who is one of our former students here, and we're going to talk about the types of things he does in engineering, and from there, we'll talk a little bit about our new engineering degree that we just got approved, and that's what we'll go through. So, without much further ado, I have with me Rich Fisher, and Rich originally came from South Carolina. He came here to Chicago to build the world's tallest concrete building at the time, actually an intern, and he rented a room in a house, and the woman who owned the house then forced him to marry her. So he got to stay, and years later, he owned an engineering firm out in Western Springs. And out of that, he decided he wanted to work for the government, and he came to work at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District with me at the time. And while he was there, he came back to school here and got his master's degree. So in a nutshell, that's kind of Rich's background. I'll let him add anything else he wants to put in there, any banks he may have robbed or anything else along those lines. But he's been working as the head of the stormwater at the district, and that itself's a little bit of an interesting history. I might ask him to tell you about that, how the district got it and developed it from individual drainage districts in Cook County and that, and kind of what he did. But Rich, did I miss anything important in you?
Nothing terribly. I'd say you hit all the major points. I mean, my experience is pretty diverse, as you kind of pointed out. I've kind of done every side of anything associated with building or capital development. I've been on the construction side, design side, and owner side. So it has been kind of a fun career so far, and yeah. So I think you kind of hit it. All those things. The one kind of fun fact is I've probably operated every kind of construction equipment there is. I think I've driven or operated everything that's possible on that. So just one little fun fact.
A scraper, a grader.
Yeah, I got a set of keys. I got one of those set of keys, it'll start a Caterpillar or a case or anything like that. I still got the set of keys for doing that. So yeah.
I happen to have my old D8 key.
Yeah.
It goes under the seat there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know with the Caterpillars, they got two keys that you use to start them. So yeah. Fun fact.
Well, that's good. As I was saying, you currently work in the stormwater, and you're leaving in a week after being there. How many years now?
It's been 13 years. I've been at MWRD, and so the stormwater mission, the MWRD, has really only been part of their mission for I think 21 years now. Of the 120 years that it's been around, and it's still, I would still consider it kind of a new mission for the district, and we're definitely improving it as we go. But the back in 2004, it was we became the Stormwater Authority for Cook County, and that's what kind of initiated it. So it's been something that we've kind of had several iterations to over the years. First, it was just regional projects, and then in 2014, that was amended to where we could do smaller projects and partner with municipalities to develop and build stormwater capital improvements in those areas.
Yeah, and for those people that really don't know, because we got a whole bunch of different audiences here. We got people that are former students just checking in on us, but we got people that are looking about what they might want to do, and that. What is stormwater?
So for us, it's predominantly what we do is we look at flooding issues, specifically associated with residents or structures. We do look at that's top priority is really solving flooding associated with that water getting into homes and businesses. That's our kind of our top priority that we work on. And basically, what we do is develop projects that can solve flooding, and then build those projects. It takes sometimes it can take a significant amount of time for some of these things. I'd say, like a project that you're looking at that say, $10 million, you're probably looking at, 7 years from start till they're finished up is what we're seeing. So it's a kind of a planning, development, overseeing construction type position with the MWRD.
If I remember right, when you first got that job, sometimes you'd look at where there was flooding and say, you know what, it's not worthwhile fixing the flooding. We're going to buy your house and tear it down. And so the people complained and you tore their house down. Is that correct?
That's correct. So like, that's actually like, one of the things it's like, it's what and FEMA has done studies on this. It's actually more cost effective to buy the houses out and allow people to move someplace else than it is to sometimes build a project that would provide flood relief. And we still have that program at MWRD. It's one of 4 programs we have. We call it the flood prone property acquisition. We still do that. I think we've told our total number of acquisitions is about 160 homes so far that we've acquired, and give those homeowners opportunities to move elsewhere. And we have 3 other programs, which we call the Stormwater Partnership Program, which is with partnerships with municipalities. We have a Green Infrastructure Program, which is partnerships associated with green infrastructure. And then we have basically a conceptual program where a community can submit a problem to us that they don't really have a solution to, and we can help them create solutions for flooding issues that they have. We kind of provide the technical expertise.
But in addition to that, you also have new construction that has to put retainage, like under a parking lot or something.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So we've done several projects like that, and we have several partnerships with even with the city of Chicago that we're working with to develop some more of those. And basically, it's like normally they're like precast concrete vaults that can hold stormwater during a storm event, and then slowly release it back into like the storm sewer system after the storm has left, so that it doesn't cause flooding. It's basically like these big underground vaults act like a big capacitor to hold water during a storm event, so that it doesn't necessarily flood everywhere.
And that might be like in a shopping center parking lot?
Yeah, we've done them in some parking lots. We've done them under the one of the popular ones that's kind of interesting. We've done them under like ball fields. I know several we've done under like parks. Up in Glenview, we've done up in Glenview. We did one under a park, and then we had a couple of others that we've looked at that it's under parks for some reason. I guess it's kind of less infrastructure we have to put back when we're all done. It's just grass that we have to put back. So we've seen, for some reason, it's been under parks lately that we see those chambers on. But like with Chicago, actually, the ones that we're doing in Chicago are actually going to be underneath the road, and they're kind of like these wing storage areas that there will be in the roads that we're going to be constructing.
So, and the theory on stormwater is when there's a storm, is let's hold the water back and then just let it out at what would be an average rainfall type thing.
That's correct. That's definitely what we kind of prioritize, is more like holding the water. It's taken us a little time to kind of develop that approach, because really solving flooding really comes down to 2 solutions. You can either hold it or you can convey it. And after kind of looking at it for a long period of time, we've decided that conveying it just moves the problem around. With Chicago, you're so flat that conveying it, you're just moving it to another area that'll be kind of flooding. So we've prioritized really kind of managing the water where it falls and trying to develop distributed storage to kind of manage those issues.
And why is it so flat in Chicago?
Well, I'd say you'd have to go back to like prehistoric times and look at some of like the glacial history of the area. There's those very large glaciers here, and this is kind of it is a continental divide. Like basically out in Des Plaines, there's this divide that basically all the water flows east from that point, and then the rest of it flows west there. So it's kind of like this kind of a interesting geological element in Chicago where it's always kind of been taken advantage of for transportation goods, way back in the times before there was really settlers. And it's kind of always been kind of a flat, swampy area that we have here. And it is unique, I'd say, for that respect is, trying to solve flooding in a flat area, it can be challenging.
Yeah. If I understand, you mentioned glaciers. As the glaciers melted, Chicago was the low point of the Great Lakes, and all the water came here. I've been told right where we sit at IIT, there was a river that was 3-4 miles wide at one point through here.
Yeah.
And that ends up making the city itself a flat, swampy land, like you said.
Yeah.
Most people don't know it, but the city in the 1800s was raised, I think, 10 feet.
Yeah. Well, I think it had associated with the fire, right? And then they raised it up after that too.
Yeah, you can go right across the Dan Ryan here and look at the houses there. We're on the original elevation, and you're looking down from the street and into the house, really.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's challenging in that regard.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a challenge. I mean, I'll be honest with you, part of it's challenging is the engineering part of it, but also a big part of it is really selling the ideas. They can, as you can kind of imagine, there's a lot of public, I guess, concern whenever you're talking about building a project in a certain area, and how's that going to impact those folks, and is it going to cause any problems for them? So part of it, I'd say, in my experience, the predominant thing is about 50-50 engineering and then sales job to kind of like sell the benefit of doing the project. So
yeah, well, I think that was one of the problems that we had at the district when the state gave us that mission. Originally, I understand they gave it to the county, and the county said, "Oh my God,
yeah,
we don't do any real engineering. We've got to give this to MWRD," and they changed the statute, and the district got it. And then, typical of a group of about 600 engineers that we have at the district, it took about 4 or 5 years to study it all and figure out what they were going to do, and ended up writing an ordinance that coordinated with some 160 municipalities, something like that.
Yeah, it's 100. I think it's over 130 municipalities that we serve. Yeah,
and so put all that together, and it was my understanding, if I remember right, we looked around and said, everybody in the world is pissed off at us about this. And we need somebody who can kind of be a easygoing Andy Griffith type, all shucks. And everybody looked up at the table and said, Rich Fisher, we've got to make him the head guy in this. And you yourself just said it's a sales job.
It is a sales job, that's for sure. I mean, it's a balancing act that you have to do. Like one of really demonstrating to people, the benefit of doing a project. It's one of the things that we have to do with a lot of these is we have to do benefit cost analysis. on these things and demonstrating, that the investment is worth it to do it. So there's that part, and then really trying to do these projects with the least amount of impact to residents really is a big part of it too. There is people have concerns, and they're warranted, but like they'll have concerns about, like, well, is it dangerous, is there potential for people to drown in a situation. Yeah, there is risk in everything, but not making the investment, there's lost opportunity costs when you don't make the investment. People are going to flood, so it's kind of a decision that some of our political folks have to make to decide, what risk they want to take on. Is it flooding, or is it or are they concerned about getting votes this time? This election season, it can vary.
And do you get much NIMBY?
NIMBY? I'm sorry, what was that?
NIMBY, not in my backyard.
We do. You do get that sometimes. I guess and even that can take a considerable amount of like sales to it. Like, I think if people understand that you're listening to them, and you can demonstrate, with presentations or coming out to speak to them, that it's going to be a really an asset to them when they're all said and done. That takes a significant amount of time, but it's an effort that kind of goes in it too. I mean, like, I'll give you kind of an example. One is the project that we did in Robbins. I worked on that one. I started working on that one in 2017, and it's just getting wrapped up now. But it's a beautiful park with like a 16-acre pond on it. But there's a significant amount of effort put into, like, regularly meeting with these people to ensure them that we're going to build an asset for them that solve their flooding, and it would be something that they could use. It would have other purposes to it, like passive recreation and education type things that we could do with that.
And how's this kind of work compared to when you had a private engineering firm?
There is correlations there between the two. I've said to my group here at MWRD, it reminds me a lot of the time when I was in the private sector, because back then I was selling a project that was like a residential subdivision or a commercial development. And again, we were selling it to the village, that was worth doing. And now we're kind of the similar thing in stormwater, but we're just stormwater capital improvement developers. And, we've got a different product to sell. We've got to make that persuasive argument that it's worth to make this investment in time and money and space to do these things. So in a lot of ways, it's very, very similar, I would say, to some of the work I did in the private sector. The big difference, I would say, in it is, one, in the private sector, there's definitely a profit-driven motive to that. You want to make certain that you're everyone that my clients are making money on it. I'm making money on it. There's definitely a profit-driven motive. Whereas with the public sector, it's more mission-oriented and getting kind of protections done. But even that, we're like looking at trying to do it as economically as we can, and working to kind of an economic side of it as well.
So it's the old Chicago motto, "Where's mine?"
Where's mine? Yeah. Where's mine? Yeah. Another thing too, I guess I was going to mention that we see, like, we have started before this year. This year, I'd say, everything like federally aligned is kind of in a state of I don't know. But prior to that, we had started getting traction with getting federal funding for these projects. And the thing that we were kind of going along with a sales job is that we've kind of figured out how to sell what we do. Like MWRD has a couple of things that we do really well. We can build projects, and we have a strong history of building projects, which is, I think, of success. I think that's a big thing that a lot of these federal funders looked at. And the second thing is we do it all by the rules. We dot every I and cross every T. And I can tell you that the federal funders, they appreciate that whenever you can demonstrate that you can deliver a project and follow the rules and doing it. So we've kind of developed, started developing a reputation for being able to deliver some of these projects and getting some federal funding. And of course, that's kind of in a little bit of a changing or adapting period right now that we're working through.
Yeah, I know when I was at the district, just for the people at home at the MWRD here in Chicago, in the 1980s, there was a severe shortage of engineers nationwide. Basically, people who fought in World War II in Korea and then went to college, and that they all retired at once. And almost all government agencies at that time went from doing their own engineering to consultants. But the MWRD is the only agency I know that made the decision we're going to match salaries and keep our engineers. And so, in that regards, the MWRD is really an old-time engineering organization. It does a lot of their own work, and has this rich history going back to 1890 or so when we dug the sanitary ship canal, and they do a lot of things technically well that way. As a matter of fact, a story I'll tell real quick was the Capital Development Board here in Chicago, or in the state of Illinois. One of their commissioners said that they thought that they should send their people over to teach the district how to manage projects.
Yeah.
And the guy was so shocked that he told his boss, "Yeah, we'll go talk about that." And then came to us in the days when Ken Kitts and I were there and says, "Listen," he says, I don't know what to tell this guy." He says, "I doubt there's anything we could teach you guys." So, well, we'll put on some kind of a show here. And again, we made everybody's boss happy,
Yeah.
Well known for that. Well, you took your master's degree here.
Yep.
And how did you find that helped you in what you do?
Well, I'd say like the big thing that the things that I would say that for IIT was really the professors here. I thought, I think every one of them had experience like in the field, and they would actually provide a very practical viewpoint for all the subject matter. I think that is extremely valuable. Asset that IIT had was because the professors, I'd say like all of them had, professional experience in the field, which I think was very valuable. And I think the other thing too that I always found great here was really the diversity. I mean, when I was going here, there's people from all over the world here, and I've really found that interesting aspect of it, and hearing other students' experience and like how they did things there, and it was just, I think it was just a really great learning environment for me, and for me too. I'll be honest with you, when I was going through getting my bachelor's, that was a long time before I got my master's, but I would say I was pretty immature back then, and I was just like, I want to get through this. Whereas the IIT, I really enjoyed it. I think, having my own professional experience and coming in and, hearing, how other people applied it, I think was extremely valuable for me. And I use my education here. I mean, literally all the time. Talking about contract negotiations or developing plans or insurance or construction management. I still refer back to those things even to this day. Like with a lot of projects that I do, um, it. I'd say, I graduated in 2018, and you know, I don't know. I guess my perception is with college is that you go through it and then you kind of forget it and you go on about your business. But I'd say in this instance, there's been a lot of things that stuck with my education here at IIT, um, that I found very applicable to the work I do, and it's benefited me and the district a lot. I think it's well worth the investment that the district and I made to get it done.
And actually, you are moving in a week or two
Yeah, yeah,
up into a higher management level in San Diego, same
yes,
stormwater management. But,
yes.
so it sounds like maybe the education with the actual job prepared you for that.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, I would not have been considered for this job if not for the education here and my time at MWRD. There's no doubt about the experience and education. That's what they were interested in, like in the interviews. And that was the thing too, is they were very interested. Like, I know I'm kind of talking about contracts, but they were very interested in knowing, like, okay, have you done requests for proposals? Have you done construction contracts? Are you familiar with liquidated damages? And I was like, yes. And I'd ask questions back to them. I was like, okay, what kind of contracts are you guys doing? Are you doing a lump sum or unit price? How do you structure your contracts? And that played a big role. I'd say.
You asked them that?
Yeah, I did.
What'd they say?
Well, they go, well, we do unit price on all our, because they do a lot of, like, they do some road construction, but they say they do a lot of unit price construction.
That would make sense on a reservoir, something like that. Certainly.
Yeah.
That's intriguing, and they then probably use a manuscripted contract for California or something.
Yeah, they definitely have specific contracting requirements that they use out there. They were asking me, like, some of the stuff, like what kind of standards I used. And I was like, well, we use a lot of IDOT standards in our work. Illinois Department of Transportation. It's a lot of times in the state of Illinois, they're kind of the ones that set, especially when it comes to stormwater or roads. They're the ones that kind of set the standards. And they asked me, it's like, is that same as AASHTO, which is the American Association of Highways and Transportation standards? And I was like, yeah, a lot of that's in there because that's what they use. They're setting their California standards. They use a lot of AASHTO standards out there. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting challenge. I am a little bit later in my career now, and I really looked at it as kind of a big challenge. I was like, this is really something exciting that my wife and I was very interested in doing, and I'm interested to see how it applies out there. How the things I've learned and experienced here will apply out there. I'm sure it's not going to be exactly the way I think it's going to be, but I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Well, that's great. What, you're going out there for grandkids or?
No, so I do have two sons. Actually, I do have a son that lives out there, and I do have a son that lives here in Chicago. And we are the one that lives in Chicago lives out in Cary. He's going to he has a son due in May. So we're looking forward to that.
So you're getting away from babysitting duties.
Yeah, that's the thing. We had to kind of make sure it's careful. It's like we're not picking one kid over the other. It was just, because we had a kid out there who had opportunity to kind of visit that area, and we're like, oh, we really liked it. And we're we'll definitely be back, a lot and enjoying the
So,
grandkid.
in your job, how do you find mentoring other engineers? I mean, I know you got people that work for you.
Yeah. I do enjoy that. I mean, like I know MWRD has a mentor program, and I've been a part of it since really the day I started. I was first a mentee, and then I became a mentor, and I think it's an important part of really any profession that you get into. Engineering in particular, I think is very valuable with that. Um, and a lot of times just simply it can be just simple as listening to people and hearing like their challenges. You're not necessarily going to have an answer for them every time, but um, being a ear that they can talk to, I think is important, and just kind of commiserate with them with the challenges that they have, and I think that's important with them, and developing engineers to be good public servants is I think is important.
Now, I know from working at the district, you really can't get promoted above the basic level without getting your PE. So
Right.
most of your people are professional engineers that work for you.
That's correct. Yep. Yep. I have let's see, I've got 4 engineers that work for me. I have I have a grant administrator and a grant writer that work for me too. So, but yeah, I'd say 4 engineers, and they all have their PEs, and it's an important thing. It's kind of a demonstration of understanding, level of understanding for certain things. Um, I remember when I got my PE, I think one of my colleagues that says, "Oh, congratulations! Now your house is at risk
Because you're liable?
because you're
Oh,
liable."
jeez.
Yeah, but it's that's something it's you do develop strategies for like managing risk. With these with design and being a PE, and it's another aspect of the work that's interesting to work with, I think.
Yeah, I was working on a job in DNR for Montana one time, and the guys were late getting from O'Hare out to downtown for a meeting that we were having. And so I'm flipping through the plans. I don't know why my eye caught it, but I saw the same guy had stamped the plans and had 2 different PE stamps. And so he gets there and he says, we go through all the stuff we're going through. He says, you guys got here? I said, yeah, why do you have 2 PE stamps? He says, I don't. I said, well, let me show you this. And he says, how in the hell did you catch that? I says, I don't know. I just was flipping, literally flipping. I saw the number change. He says, oh my God. He calls his secretary right then and there. Well, the state had bought them all brand new PE stamps, and it turns out that the company that made the stamps just put the same number on everybody's stamp.
Oh my goodness.
And so you do see that kind of screw ups once in a while.
Yeah, that's one way to get around risk, right? If you
Yeah.
get the wrong number on
No,
there.
that's not me.
I don't know whose number that is.
Yeah, that's somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think registration is important, even if you don't use it a whole lot.
Yeah.
I've always used my PE stamp to mark my books, so I know they're mine. And
That's a good idea. I never thought about
oh,
that.
I do.
Yeah.
I take a brand new book, I mark it, and go from there.
Yeah.
But that's
I'll have to do this because because I'm packing up my books. I have to stamp them. That's a good idea.
well, sometimes a good idea to have a sheet of carbon paper there.
Yeah.
You stick it in to stamp it.
Yeah.
That's it. Uh, so, well, this looks all good. I would like to mention to the folks at home, I had mentioned it in an earlier podcast, and I always tell you if you would like to come to school here or you have any interest in it, that we can contact our graduate admissions office. However, this time around, we've just gotten approved last week a new bachelor's degree, and the bachelor's degree is a bachelor's in construction management. And we really have two paths for that. You can come here initially and you'll go to school in the School of Architecture for 3 semesters, and then you'll come over to the Civil Engineering Department for the rest of your 4 years. And so that's one path we have. But the biggest one I think we have is as I put this program together, I looked in the local area, and for those of you who maybe even are from Illinois, but you're not from Illinois, back in the 60s, when the boomers started to get towards college age, the state of Illinois decided that rather than quadruple the size of all their 4 year universities, they put into place a junior college system, about eventually 35 universities. And their idea was at the end of that time, each local community would then do whatever they wanted with the campuses and the buildings. And if you were down in farm country and wanted to have a type of degree in that, you could do that. So when we look in Chicago, we've got about 20 are within commuting distance of us. Those 27 of them have associate's degrees in construction management, and so we designed this new degree so you can come from those programs to ours. Now we're going to have to work on the transition plan in the next 2-3 months to get it done, but we're supposed to be able to enroll students by fall. So we're working on that, and this degree will be one that you can take school you've already started and come here and get the bachelor's. The bachelor's in construction management is not a pure engineering degree. It's actually called the Bachelor of Construction Management and Architectural Technology is the actual name for it. Under the ABET accreditation, it will be accredited under the Sciences Division, not the Engineering Division. But CM is a bit of a mixed bag of types of areas of business, law, engineering skills, the ability to look at drawings, test concrete, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what it's going to be, and I believe it's also going to be a pathway for you if you want to come through that degree to go get the master's degree that Rich here got, our master's in construction management. So I'm looking at that as a roadmap to go from the junior colleges. We didn't have that stepping stone anywhere in the Chicago area for a bachelor's in CM. I've looked at all my competitors, and nobody has one of these yet. So we've approved it. It's going to be in our catalog when it gets published at the end of the spring, and we're going to have it in the fall. If anyone out there is interested in that, you would have to apply to the undergraduate admissions. And my first call with them is on Friday. So if you were to apply tomorrow, they'll probably say, huh? Actually, we don't say huh. We say much more polite and things of that. But that's, I wanted to bring that up.
That sounds awesome. I mean, like, I don't think there's nothing like that in Chicagoland, right?
No, that's the only one I can find, Rich.
Yeah, I just heard, like, there's a guy at work, just talking to him, and his son's kind of doing kind of a similar thing, and he's doing 2 years at junior college and then transferring. He's just going to start college next year, but that's kind of the same route he's going to go. Is go to junior college and then transfer to get his bachelor. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, there's no bachelor's in CM anywhere in the area.
Yeah.
So we're putting it in. It's because of the bureaucracy of universities and that, we've actually worked on it for about 3 years. A lot of things came to a head all at once, where suddenly the president and the provost of the university wanted something like this, and we kind of turned around and says, well, you want something like that? We have it, and here it is, and emailed it to them the same day.
Yeah.
And so it's that old question of being at the right time at the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome idea, I think.
So that's what we're working on. Well, I think we're about the end of our time here. And well, we're about 40 minutes. And so I don't know if you can think of anything more important, or you got some jokes you need to tell, or
I always remember going back to, we were talking earlier about the presentation we had to do for our construction estimates. You remember, like, I don't know if you still do this, but people could come in and watch students. Other students could come in and watch other students give their presentation. I still remember like I came and watched some folks do it. And I remember, like, on the chalkboard, somebody had to shoot Old Yeller.
yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, well, that was kind of funny because in that particular one, we had a group that kind of stumbled back and forth and I finally said, stop. Said, you've obviously got a problem with this project. I think you're going to have to go work on it for another few weeks and come back. And then my uh, teaching assistant was a individual from Nepal.
Wow.
Today, he's a PhD in Toronto, Canada, teaching our exact same estimating class.
Wow.
But they all walked out, and he looked at me and says, well, why did you do that? And I looked at him and said, somebody had to shoot Old Yeller. and he didn't know. And then I had to explain to him
the whole story.
Yeah, I mean, those of you who are younger people and don't know the story, back in the 1960s, there was a Walt Disney movie called Old Yeller, and Old Yeller was the faithful family dog. And right towards the end of the movie, the dog attacks a rabid wolf, I think, if I remember, coyote, and in doing so, gets bit. And they watch poor Old Yeller, and they realize he's got rabies and he's not going to recover. And so the dad says, we've got to put Old Yeller down. And the son says, Dad, it's my dog. And so the boy goes out and puts Old Yeller down. And that's the end of the movie. And everybody in the whole movie theater was crying, tears streaming down their eyes. And
yeah,
we always have fun in that exam. By the way, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but we actually got that exam as a YouTube for when RS Means came and gave us prizes for that.
Oh, wow.
If you want, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, absolutely, sometime.
So, well, folks, you see what our graduates do. And Rich, you want to tell them your address in California so they can all come visit you?
So, yeah, I'm going to be working at the County of San Diego. I believe the address is 5555 Overland Avenue, San Diego, California. So if you ever out there, give me a holler. I'd be glad to talk to you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks.